Salutations. Yeah, I like to talk about something that I think is very, very relevant and I'm kind of blown away by, all right? Now, a lot of times in my contact experiences, I had beings that stepped forward to me in childhood and then also on what I call my adult onset experiences. I've shown you a few of those beings, all right? And I wondered, like, why is it they kind of step back and then everything just went non-physical? And I get much more telepathic information now and things of that nature that they give me this communication in that way. So it's not always a physical experience anymore. But I wonder sometimes why some of these beings did that. Well, I have a situation, excuse me, where I have one of these beings that I woke up thinking about. I know some energy, information was transferred. Okay, and I've not been in the presence, physical presence of this being in years. Okay, but nonetheless, this is correlating. And I've said many times how this alliance, this extragalactic interdimensional cooperative alliance that I've mentioned that I've been in contact with all my life, how they seem even more interested in Earth and focused on Earth than they are humanity. So I think it says a lot about our free will. But I think this ties into the Earth thing. Okay, the being Maana that I'm referring to. And this is Maana here. You've already seen a picture in the beginning here. Maana, I got a lot of responses from this being. Just quickly, something that's interesting about this being is it's amphibious, I believe androgynous, but also the head, the cranium, was very large, but it appeared to be almost like a brain on the outside, a hard brain. Okay, and when I take this being and I correlate to a ship that I was on, which is this one here, okay, and there were smaller Maana looking beings on here, okay, with the head still, all right, although they were smaller, they were more human sized, not around the 8 feet tall that Maana was, the other one. So anyway, point being that I've talked a lot. I just put out a video that's organic UFO composition. Please listen to what I'm saying and what I've said about that the walls of this ship seem to be like a cross between a mushroom and also some ways like the skull, like their skulls, the same type of heart. And it's when I say a mushroom or fungus, it was harder, but had the hardness with the consistency of like their heads. And I've talked about how there's a quasi-crystal compound that is combined with DNA from the ship, DNA from the crew with some type of a fungus, and these ships are grown. That's part of the compound. And when I start seeing that this wall is similar in that way, all right? So that's the main thing I wanted to say about that. That's in the picture of the wall itself, of Maana, the wall itself right there aboard the ship. It's got the mushroom texture, all right, but also like the outer brain structure of them. Now, what I want to get to about this, the important thing, when I look here on Earth, the thing that looks the most similar to Maana's head structure and outer brain structure, it's sea coral, brain coral, all right, brain coral. It looks quite similar when I look at that. There's several pictures that I put up there that show brain coral, all right, so you've seen that, and you can see the similarity itself. Now, taking that and this information that come through that I seem to wake up having, and it's concerning Maana, and I've wondered before, why was this being Maana? First, why did it step forward towards me? Why did any of these beings come towards me? Why was I having these experiences? I always wondered that to this day, you know, even not as much as I did then. But now I was also wondering, why would that being be involved with Earth? Whether it's interdimensional and what it's shown me, what this being showed me of a place of origin, was outside of the exo-space-time continuum, some type of a water planet out there. All right, now that takes it all into the multiverse theory and all that stuff, but we're dealing with something that's dealing definitely a planet outside of our space-time continuum. So that is what it is. I can even imagine how you're going to have a water planet out there anyway, doing that and whatever. But anyway, what is the connection with that being and that species and Earth? Why are they here? Why are they doing anything? Now I wake up with this information and I'm tripping on the Great Barrier Reef, specifically the coral reef that constructs it, all right? Now when I start looking more in information in that, I start finding something, that the Great Barrier Reef is in big trouble. It's being destroyed. And that the coral on Earth itself is in trouble right now in the sea. And it's most unfortunate, but it takes us into what is they're saying is a type of global warming. I hear so much argument about that now. No, it's not warming, it's getting cold, yada yada. Well, something's happened and the sea coral is dying for this reason. You know how brilliant, beautiful sea coral is. Now you've got something, the algae, that creates that effect. Now the warming of the waters is causing the sea coral to actually eject the algae. And then they start losing their color at that point, and then they eventually turn black. And once the sea coral turns black, it dies. So this is a type where melanin is not what's going on there, right? This is a different situation here. So that's called bleaching of coral. Look that up. I'll put some pictures up about it. It's a very real phenomenon right now that's destroying the coral of this planet. Now, on experiments that have been done concerning that, there is, out of all this coral that's dying, that's been exposed to this bleaching, there is also a 12% that has not perished under these conditions. They have some type of a genetic resistance. Okay, those have been termed super corals. Sorry, get a little too excited. Super corals. All right, and super corals have this resistance, and right now you've got man. They're trying to actually engineer these and actually make these to replace coral that could possibly be in the sea now. Because if the coral dies, the coral reefs die, the Great Barrier Reef itself dies, we're in serious problems if what our planet can do to contain heat and other things and its own defense systems. That's a real problem. A lot of marine species are dependent on the reef themselves, coral reef. Now, if you look at what the coral reef is, I mean, it's actually several microorganisms putting together coming to making one thing. So that makes me very curious about Maana's situation also in its beings. But right now, especially when it comes to supercoral, for all I know, these are beings that can bend space-time continuum, so all bets are off. For all I know, Maana could have an origin here on Earth, its species could, and then they went out galactically. I mean, we're talking about millions of years ago on the cycles that have been here that no one talks about, pre-Earth cycles. So this could be, or this could also be the future. Or is Maana connected to supercorals? Is that species connected to supercorals? It's worthy. I think it's a good question, right? Anyway, that's just something I wanted to be aware of, and just what's actually happening there, and where we could go with supercorals and trying to the death of the coral reef. And maybe I think that's what Maana's species is here being involved in right now and dealing with. So we know that. Also, when it comes down to it, instead of just thinking for a little bit of proof, excuse me, all right, I'm going to say something. This is important. When dealing with, I'm talking about the ship construction. I've been talking about this for years now, and how there is a type of fungus and the DNA of the crew, which talks about this type of brain coral, why that is on this, and also that deals, and there's a connection here, scientifically, you can trace down. When I say these ships have been grown in deep space as well, all right? Now, this is something called Trichoderma reesi. It's a fungus, all right? It's a fungus that makes calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate is what the coral reef is. It's what sea coral is. Look that up. It's calcium carbonate. And there's a species of fungus called Trichoderma reesi. Trichoderma. And if you look that up closely, you'll find places like MIT that are talking about using these type of fungus and the mushrooms to restore structures, road structures, like bridges and things like that. You look up what I just said. Now that's very real, so that takes us into a whole other thing. If they're talking about using this type of fungus to reinforce infrastructure, okay, and I'm telling you that these compounds can be used to grow ships that can resist cosmic radiation. I'm saying it a long time. So we're getting there. Fundamentally, our science is taking us there. And before just thinking, okay, we're having fun out there, but before just thinking that I'm absolutely crazy and going off in that way, please look up the science behind what I'm telling you. I'm looking at my notes real quick because I've been a little bit excited on this. I'm getting to rambling a little bit, make sure I've addressed all the things I want to try to talk about. That would be it. Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody that has watched its videos and supported here on YouTube, but really it's the Patreon people. This video will start on Patreon. I'm making it for YouTube, but if it was not for you on Patreon, the few people that follow me over here, I would have quit making videos 6 months ago. No doubt about that. So I thank you very much. Please look up these terms that I've given here. I put pictures at the beginning and end, because that kind of the beginning, it probably is like, what is this? But now towards the end, it's going to make more sense. So that way you can do the research for yourself. And this is something that real scientists need to be looking at. It's not just crap. And I'll tell you one more thing, keeping it real, all right? You heard this here first. There aren't other contactees talking about this because it's not information being presented by anybody I know of, all right? So you're hearing that here first. And it's real. I'm presenting this information because this involves our planet. And somehow this species, a real extragalactic species that is dealing with Earth and somehow connected to the supercoral and the coral reef. That's all I say, the Greek. So that's something that just to think about, all right? Now, how far we got to go to make coral a sentient life form, I don't know. What circumstances that occurs under, I don't know that either, all right? But I'm just putting this out there because I think, especially when dealing with space exploration, this is real. This compound, the way these ships are done, is real. So anyway, that's all. Hope to see a few people at the setting. Look forward to that. Thank you very much, everybody. Again, I got to get out of here. Peace.